there. But looking at what Mr. President is doing now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he looks to be putting more of everybody from the different regions right now. Do you assent to this, that this is a good move?
Yeah, much as he's been trying to put everybody from pick people from different regions, at the same time he has emphasized on professionalism more than any other thing. Because if it were to be picking people from every side like we had in the past, we can pack every I don't want to use the word idiot and say we make them from one region. So, but in this case, this is not what the president is doing. If it were to be that, we have people that are more qualified than these guys. He can even decide to retain some of those that left. Because going by experience, if that is what we are going to look at, the crop that have been appointed, they don't have it as those ones that were leaving. But their experience didn't count. It didn't manifest, it didn't reflect in what they were doing. Because if you look at the profile of this new crop that have been appointed yesterday, you will see that they are men. Indeed, by training, they have acquired so much training, but really, they have not been war-tested men. And is that not what we need in the country today, looking at the space at which insecurity is right now? You see, sometimes we may need it, that war-tested men, generals, will be the ones to be appointed. But at times that it is even that test that they went through that will make them to be irrelevant. Maybe they are spent forces. So some of them that have overstayed even in the military itself, we thought maybe because they have seen tough times that will help us. But at the same time, maybe it was at the time they were tired that we brought them on board. So we cannot really say that one as especially when we go by the most recent experience. It didn't count at all. We didn't benefit from whatever they may have experienced before. So like in these guys now, what I notice about them is that they have acquired so much training, whereas they have not had the opportunity to put that training into practice because they have been under some people before. And you see, skills, when you acquire it and you don't have the opportunity to expend it, then it's like an anger bottle up in you. You want to explode. Now that they have been given the opportunity and our investment on them will not go, because we used to have it like this in this case too, a lot of them will go home now. Last year alone, I think year 2022, we retired 64 generals. More generals will still go now. Because as at then, the then president must bring one of his casemen on board as the chief of army staff, and he was a junior general also. So he had to retire so many generals just for one person to be there. And it will happen again now, except I don't know the approach that the sitting president is going to give. It will happen in the police too. I'm not an apostle of that. I don't support it. That we invest money on people. There was a time in this country when an inspector general of police was to be appointed, and some officers were on course outside the country. We've invested on them for almost 1 year. They were in that training, and they came back and got their retirement letter because one of their junior has been appointed. So that's a waste. Investing on people, we should get a result for it, not that we will just send them to go home just like that. And it will happen this time around, because I noticed that even the present crop of service chief, they are all the same rank. It is appointment that will separate them now. Even the chief of defense staff and other service chiefs, they are the same rank. And I heard Barrister saying it the other time that the military guys might find it a little bit difficult to take orders or to accept the leadership of Rebadu. No. The military are trained to take orders right from the day you want to join. And that is why you have, as your basic training, the first thing they will introduce you to is parade. Parade is about taking orders even from your junior one. Because you see, when you go to the training school, you see that the training instructor that will be taking you on drills will be maybe private or corporal or anything. So, wow. And the first thing they tell you, even if you arrive the training school for a particular training, the first thing they tell you is that they ask you for your rank. When you tell them, they say, have you dropped it at the gate? And those people, the instructors, they are kind of erratic people. They don't treat you. It is only when you are about to complete your course or courses that they will now become your friends. They will start coming to you. But they are relatively junior officers. And they give you instructions, you must obey. It is the reverse there. They are the boss. So whatever you are in your command or wherever you are coming from. So that's habit of inculcating discipline, submission is right from the day you enlist into any of the security agencies. So they won't have problem about that. We have had situations in this country whereby, and in other climes, whereby civilians are the Minister of Defense. We have a particular example. Our own daughter here, Erelu Obada. She was acting Minister of Defense, and she had military men to control, and they were taking orders from her. So they didn't have any problem.
A civilian for that matter.
For civilian, a woman for that matter. So they were taking orders from her. So it will not give them any problem to take orders from Ribadu. Ribadu is the eye of Mr. President, our security architect of today. He is closer than any of them to Mr. President. He coordinates, by his appointment today, he will be the coordinator of all their activities. When they want to get their problems solved, they go through him. So it's, that position is a very powerful one.
Exactly.
You don't look at the personality, you look at the office that person is occupying. So to take orders from him and...
You've taken us, thank you, because I wanted to, first of all, let me just, before we really want to talk about Nuhu Ribadu, a policeman. Now, of course, there's always that thing that the military will look at it with bloody policeman. You're really giving us an insight towards this. But before I would want us to delve into the Nuhu Ribadu's appointment, I want to just ask Barrister OBADITAN here. We saw that the retired former Inspector General of Police now, Alkali Baba Osman, was supposed to have retired. And there was a warrant at a point by the court that legally, does he stand the grounds of now being arrested now that he has been retired? If we have to look at the balancing from the Constitution, can he now be arrested now that he has been retired?
Why must he be arrested? Because he
disobeyed a court order.
No, they later vacated the...
They vacated it, okay.
You see, if that is the, I think, but the fact that he has spent 35 years in serving, it's over 60 years from March, nobody should take him to court over that. That is gone with it. Even assuming he's even fresh. For example, the new acting Inspector General of Police, to me, he has just been appointed as DIG not long ago. So it's going to have some people who are at the top, above him. Yes. So if for that reason, people went to court and said, look, you are not over this, that, it just comes to one thing that we need to remind ourselves. Most of our leaders don't allow institutions to function. And it comes to what Mr. Adeyi has said, that in other client, it is by seniority. You don't go and bring somebody from the lower rank and they ask him to be in charge of the, and surely those people will go, and the money we expended on them will be a waste. So if we have been following it, I remember one of the oldest general in America, I think was over 70, and during the one war that America was involved, about 40 years ago, and the man was in charge. I was going on doing, as long as you don't put your hands in anything that can destroy your integrity, the office you occupy. So sometimes they allow that. But where we here in Africa, and in Nigeria in particular, we look at intimacy, we look at ethnic factor, we look at religion in putting people in a sensitive position. And it ought not to be, because it doesn't allow the institution to function properly. But where we have allowed institution to function, people know it is my rank. And they don't need to struggle for it, because they know nobody will deviate. No one will say, no, go. And such a thing doesn't build. And this perhaps sometimes explains corruption in our country. Because people feel, well, from the look of things, I may not be able to be in this position. So the little under his care, it takes them. So that in case they fire him, he goes on with them. So these are some of the things. If you look around, I remember one of the top military, maybe the chief of armed staff the other time was in trouble until he died. They said he used some money of the military, he bought property in Dubai and many other things. The case is still on before he died. So things that way might not have happened in Western country because they monitor you. They look at your account, they look at your asset declaration from year to year. But yeah, they won't disclose some of those things. And because they knew by the time my money of retirement may not come, my time may not even be up to the 35-year government expect me to have spent in this service. So the summary of what I'm trying to say was that the Inspector General of Police, either he has did or what the president has terminated his appointment. The man should be allowed to go and enjoy his retirement without anybody hustling him over any, except if he has committed any other criminal offense. Maybe he embezzled, maybe if there was a charge of murder or any other thing. But if it's based on his rank, his long stay in service, I think it shouldn't be a problem in time like this.
Mr. ADEYI, let's give us an insight towards, we know that the speed at which banditry, kidnapping, oil theft, there's been violent crimes that were recorded over time in Nigeria with different servicemen, and under the last set of servicemen that who were just retired now, it was hectic. We had it large. The speed at which oil theft at the various regions, it was here. The new servicemen, what do you think, as a retired serviceman yourself, sir, what should they put in place? What should government support them with to make sure that all these things are curbed, if not totally eradicated?
First and foremost, the new service chiefs must, within themselves, by themselves, divorce themselves from whatever training, illicit training they have received from those ones that are going on all these things, because the ones that left, they didn't perpetrate whatever they did alone. You either be under them and learn by watching, by participation or whatever. So they cannot really say that they are saint, that the president has gone out to bring saints. They will be looking at the president, looking at his body language. What does he want? Is it a president that we are going to joke with? Is it a president we can form cabal against and then start playing the whole others? They will look at that. If they see that this is a president that is a no-nonsense, and I know that the president himself will not hesitate to deal with them. Since I am bringing you on board to come and solve a problem for me, and I discover that you are another part of the problem yourselves, then I will deal with you, so that others will now sit up. And it depends on the way those that are going now, the way we handle their exit, that will make this one to sit tight. I don't subscribe to you finishing from an office and you just go like that without somebody calling you to say, okay, this is, come and give account of your stewardship. And so if they know that they are going to give account of their stewardship after office, that it is not going to be presidential handshake just like that, then this one will sit tight. They will do everything to make sure that they deliver. And you said something the other time about the chief of army staff. That one is more indebted in success story than any other ones, because they are coming from the same place with Mr. President. And you know, here we have a culture, we have a tradition of even we cry from home here. I trust our people. If it were to be that those two guys, the ones from Osho is very lucky, always lucky in disappointment in recent time. Well, not just two people. One is just leaving now. Vice Marshal is from Oshogbo here, and then we have one from Ilobuna. Congratulations to the people of Ilobuna, and then we have one from so I congratulate all of us on that, and I hope they are not going to disappoint us and put us to shame. They have enormous task on their shoulder, and that they must. So they have to support the president more than any other persons, and the most, all of them, not only this chief of army staff alone, all these service chiefs must be, like I used to say when I talk on radio and television like this, they must be positively crazy and angry against these our problems. All these challenges that we're having in security, they must be crazy. Now that, okay, we are going to solve it. Like those people who are fighting are crazy against us, we should be crazy against them too.
So what steps should they take? Bless you, Mr. ADEYI. What steps should they take to be, let me take a cue from that, to be crazy, to nip the board on its head?
Yes, you must first and foremost be able in security practices to relate the past with the present in order to mediate on the future. What has been happening, you bring it to the table, relate it with the present, then you use it to mediate on the future. That this is the solution to this. Now, thank God we are having Ribadu now. I think it's a very good appointment. We want to approach our security problems and challenges now from the inward to the outward, not from the outward to the inward. Why did I say that? Military, their training is to protect our territorial sovereignty. That is, when there is any external aggression, that is what they are trained to do. Security training and military training, they are not the same. It could have been an error of the past president or the country itself emphasizing or using military men. It was almost becoming a tradition. Thank God for our new president, Ashwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that has departed from that now and going to look inward to treat because police train on internal security. And what we've been having has been internal security. It is not Cameroon that is coming to attack us. It has not been Angola attacking us. So it is within. Now we are bringing on board somebody that trained on internal security that will look at it from the inward.
So it is like a round peg in a round hole.
Round hole at this time. And Ribadu, we know his fantastic profile. And apart from being a police officer, he has been a politician. So security and politics, sometimes when you marry them, you get solution to your problem. Most of these problems that we're having, that later turn security challenges, they are political. They started from all these ones that we're having right now, even all this agitation, the Boko Haram. They manifested into what they are today from politics. So I think Ribadu will bring his experience, his robust experience of BIA to get this solved this time around. Let this military, let them concentrate on their external, protection of our territorial integrity. Borders. So let them concentrate on that. Let him work with him. It's supposed to be a kind of 2-3 rings. The immediate ring, which is the internal. The second ring is also the what do you call this service? Immigration service. Influx of aliens into this country. Then the military will give them that backup to protect this. Then let's try this experience and see. All this idea of coming to give them different names that those people that are perpetrating the crime doesn't even know. They don't know the meaning of what they are perpetrating. We call them, we are the ones that give them names. We say these ones are bandits. If you ask him, are you a bandit? What does a bandit? He doesn't know. We say this one is an insurgent. He doesn't know whether he was an insurgent or anything. This one is a kidnapper. The kidnapper. Sometimes banditry becomes kidnapping. They mix the whole thing with insurgency and everything. Look at it when Shekau was alive before he was killed. Ask the guy why he was doing what he was doing then today. He will give you a different answer. Tomorrow, he will give you a different answer. They say they want to Islamize the country. Sometimes they come to tell you that Buhari is bad. That is just the reason why you are. What has Buhari done that is bad? They say they are going to kill everybody. So, their name itself is that Western education is bad. That is the meaning of So, to what extent? And look at it now. These guys, I told us the other time that most of them, they have robust training experience. The new crop of service. Yes, that is good for us. The other time, the military shamelessly came out to tell us that they were having problem with fighting against insurgency because they didn't train on it. They least expected it. And it was a shame that the military of a country will come. Okay, this one now, they have trained them on it. Why those ones admitted at that time that it was a shock to them. that this thing was coming, that they were not familiar with guerrilla war, they were not familiar with terrorism and all these things. Well, thank God they were sincere to some extent. But these ones now, they have spent almost all their life in the military receiving training. Let's see how they will deploy the training to solve our problems now. So that's one good thing about their appointment.
Okay, we'll still keep talking about that as well. But Barrister Moses, let's look at it. A large amount of monies have been spent over the years, even right from the days of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Goodluck Jonathan, and Yar'Adua, into the military to solve this crisis of Boko Haram and insurgency, banditry. Now, with the speed at which kidnapping has taken over, it's alarming. We have oil theft at different regions being siphoned out. Now, the new service chiefs are here. What should the government of the day do constitutionally to make this work out? And should there be a timeline to say, look, I want you to work between now and this time. I don't want to hear of this. An executive order from Mr. President. Is that constitutionally able to happen?
Well, let's start on the issue of finance.
Yes, please.
No amount of money is too much or too big for your security. If you look at the money America is spending on security, is above any other country. They are in trillions of dollars, and they keep on doing it. Among it is going to be research, gathering of information, many other things, training of their men and acquiring, even sometimes spying to other countries. So the money we spent on the military or defense is not a problem. But the issue is those people who have been trained, who have acquired, why are they lethargic? Why are they giving excuses? So what I will expect from the new president, I want it to be a bit different from what President Buhari said. You remember when he was just being sworn in, that Buhari, he said, I give you 6 months. And I want you to move to Maiduguri now. And like Riley said, the people move to Maiduguri, things look as if things are going, but eventually the things cool down. So what I will expect the president to do is to hold a meeting with experts. Sit down. This is the problem. How do we go about this? What's your suggestion? You listen to them, they take note. What do you think, why we are still on the same spot in the last 12 years? Do we require equipment? Do we need to gather more information? Is it because our men do not have enough training? Like you said, the guerrilla warfare is as old as the army in the world. I think the Chinese, Chairman Mao, one of the father of guerrilla warfare. And even in Africa, if you remember the Kenya, the Mao, not yet Uhuru, those are some of those things that are involved. And even before Mandela was picked up, similar thing happened. So the military cannot claim they are not trained. It is a jungle issue. They are trained in the jungle. They are not like people that the police who deal with the state capital, the internal of that country. So now, haven't identified, because that's one of the things. If you don't, no doctor goes into operation. If you don't go to the X-ray, please take the X-ray of this woman. Let's see what is it. When they see the malignance, they say, okay. Then he look at his book. How do we treat? Is it injection? Is it total operation? Is it in a particular drug? Do we need a new medicine? The same thing happened in the security expert. I may not be like ADEYI. I was trained as an investigation officer. Among the little things we did when I worked with the federal government, we also look on surveillance. While you are doing your surveillance, you try to identify the hotspots. You look at those people you have picked up in time past. Look at where they are coming from. And then you see how do you block so that such things they are dealing with.
You isolate them.
Yeah, you isolate them. And then that was the first contact I had with CCTV, closed circuit television. Because we work at the airport. We monitor what happened at the tarmac. We look at people who are picking here and there. The same thing in the modern security. You don't send 100 soldiers. You can even send a spy who will be like the natives, be like if it's a mad person, and we'll be able to gather and say, okay, this is how they operate. This is their modus operandi. These are some of the things. When you have not got this one, which I know the military know, but then what we have been told may be true or untrue of that. Most of these people have been retired, not the one that have just gone. We are interested in sharing the money. And most even the equipment they should have purchased, remember from the day of Jonathan, some money were found in the plane in South Africa. Either the South African government eventually send the money back, it's another issue. So, and even in the days of IBB, I remember one major was sent by IBB to go and buy weapons in London, Colonel Yang. And then he said in his writing, because I work in the news magazine that time, and in the interview, he said normally in the military, when you are sent to go and buy a weapon, you don't just go and buy. You first of all go, look, and send sample back home. If they now approve it, then you now negotiate and then pay the bill. He said, but before we arrived in London, the money was already waiting. And then the lady they sent with, they said, no, we're not paying any money. He said the lady now called the president. The president Ibrahim said, Yang said no. He said, ignore him, don't pay. He said that's where the money went. Either Yang is telling truth or not, was a corner in the Nigerian army. So if we now pay and the equipment are not supplied and the people are dying, and you look at these riffraff people, even when you even watch them, they are not as sophisticated as our but the weapon they are holding is sophisticated. So what do we do with weapon? Is it what's called qualified? I remember at a point in time, I think maybe under Abacha, the bullet they used in 1948 Second World War was still being used by our army. They said that when they use them during training, the thing will not explode or maybe not hit meeting that he may know the language they use. And that's why Abacha said, what's wrong? And they now take sample that this thing is not supposed to even be purchased or of sending back here. So the president, the NSA, and many of them, we also meet on this one, identify, and then provide solution. Okay, are we going to need more men? Are we going to use spy? Are we going to use what we call carrot and stick? Those who are ready, not that just come, they will give them pardon tomorrow, they sneak out and join the IMA. So it's time for us, and we were in Liberia, we were in many other countries, we were also involved in South Africa, and we're able to grant them success in their military incursion. Why can't we handle our own internal? This is internal, not external. Suppose Cameroon take on us again. How are we going to do it if we cannot handle this riffraff? Yeah, we know they got a weapon because what they told President was that they came from Mali, those people came from Libya, they are the one giving us anything, but they passed through our border. It's time to do what Donald Trump did. When he came, he realized that the defense between the Mexico and the American are just not there. He said, no, we will not allow you to come here. Most of our borders are porous. In fact, there's no fence, no wiring. So when are we going to do it? Don't we have the resources? And if we don't, can't we contract it so that people don't just come at will? Because if you know where your enemy is coming from, you can find. But when it's here, there. So these are some of those challenges this present government must come and study. And then when they're able to start defending, the people we now know Nigeria is waking up. But as long as we're just sending the people, if they come through this place, the people sneak to this place, we are going to put our men in danger. So it is time for us to rise to the occasion, not just give them, I give them 6 months. You must work out, assist them, get, even if you need be, at the point in time they said we should invite foreign experts. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Benjamin ANEKWE was sent to South Africa. As what do you call it? These people are fighting and then they pay you. What do you call that name? Mercenary. So why don't you get mercenary? Jonathan did it. And it worked out. And that's why the election was conducted in 2015. So we can do it.
The speed at which oil bunkering, oil theft is ravaging this country is alarming. And the new man at the helm of affairs, the Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral E.A. Ogala, has a task on his hands. As an expert and being in the field of military with your line of work, where do you think this man should start from? And what are the steps you think you can propose that if they do it this way, the speed at which oil bunkering, oil theft can be reduced? Looking at what the likes of Asari Dokubo stated just some few days ago, the military are part of those who steal our oil.
That makes the problem solved to at least half. A citizen has come out now. Dokubo forgets his personality. He's a citizen that will talk, and the talk will carry weight. He came out, he volunteered information. By now, if ours were to be a serious arrangement, Dokubo should be guest of the intelligence community, not as a suspect. No, but to assist them. Yeah. You have uttered this statement. Please. What do you mean by it? Please give us more insight into it. And the guy will tell them, this, and he's not the one that that is the first to say it. Yes. Remember, Governor Wike said it.
Yes, openly.
The generals were sitting down like this, and he told them that except and only the DSS that is not involved in bunkering in Nigeria, that all of you that are seated here, that you are the bunkers. He told them to their faces.
And none of them
argued or disagreed with him. Now, it is not Wiki now, it is Dokubo that have said it. So our problem is as good as being solved by that. We don't have any problem of information now. It is the problem of processing that information into intelligence now that we have. And then the dissemination of it, then to make it actionable. So that is what we have. So I don't think we should start, the new man now shouldn't come out and tell us that at least the Navy too, they have their intelligence unit. Yes. So he cannot say that he's behaved in information. No. Informations are waiting for him on his desk right now as to the activities of Bunkra. So if he must come out to prove that, okay, I have not been part of them. And even if I have been part of them, I'm now a born again. I want to work. I want to deliver to Mr. President. So that is it. So that's why I said Rebadu is quite relevant in this case, because this is another internal problem. Bunkering.
Which is familiar with.
He's familiar with it. He's been head of EFCC before. So when he's not somebody that you will talk bunkering, I will be asking you for what is the meaning of bunkering. Or you talk of financial crime, and I will be asking you for what exactly do you mean by it. So he knows these people inside, and that is what our president is benefiting from now. Himself has been a politician all his life. So he's familiar with all these criminalities. He knows them. He knows what should be the solution. That's why he's getting it right. And it is the first time we are having, yes, a politician as our president. We've never had one before. It is the first time that we are having somebody
politician
who wanted to be president and he is president. Other past ones they have been unwilling candidates. Start from Tafawa Balewa, go to Shagari, come to the military, that they will just sit down in the Supreme Military Council and pick one of them that least expected himself to be the president. Now come back to the civilian. Obasanjo, they used him at that time to placate us, the Yorubas, because of what happened to us over June 12th. Then we go to the person that took over from him, Yar'Adua. It was Obasanjo that forced Yar'Adua to come and be our president. After him, Jonathan, that least expected, there was who was a deputy governor or something like that. So they brought him on board. He was an unwilling president too. Then we came back to Buhari, somebody that have even vowed openly on television that was his last time.
I'm no more contest.
That is no more contest. And they brought him, said, okay, you contest, and they made him president. So we have never had a willing president. We have never had a president that really asked for it, that I want to be your president. This is the first time we have somebody who asked, and emphatically that, Emilokan, it is my turn. We don't know the people he was talking to. Maybe he was talking in the spiritual realm that it is my turn. He knew that it is turn by turn, but this is my turn. He asked and he said it. It was a very strong statement, except those people that may not be able to sit down and look at it. He said, what is that thing? And they brought it to him this time around. So maybe that's why he has prepared himself. And you see that reflected during his campaigns and everything. When people were busy hurling insult and abuses at him, he was focused. And that's why he's not having this problem now. Like I've said before, that some people at state level, at national, in fact, he has put some governors to shame now by all that he has done in 21 days. Disappointment, this drastic action, and everything. We have governors now that have not been able to do anything for 1 year. This thing, they say, when I settle down in office.
When will you settle down?
He has rubbished that statement now. That some politicians will even be defending this thing. Let him settle down. He has not settled down. What do you mean you are not settled down? You had 6 months
don't you
grace,
for what
5 or 6 months grace after your election. After your election, you will be there. IDOWU, between the time of election that you were declared to the time of swearing in. The Constitution has done it so well now. You have good 5-6 months. And you are not coming at the end of that 6 months to tell us that, allow me to settle down in office. What kind of settlement are you, talking about again? So,
but suppose Obaditan, the acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has a task on his hands, looking at the internal security, looking at the likes of the ESN, looking at IPOB, Yoruba Nation agitators, at least the different spheres of people who are a little bit on the violent side. We've seen what just happened some few weeks, almost a month or thereabout in Plateau State. We saw what happened in Anambra State. The killings, the kidnappings is rampant. If you have to tell me now, say, we are going to Abuja by road, I'll probably come and ask Mr. ADEYI, please, I need security to at least escort us there. We
went to Benin for a social ceremony. So, without went to the police that they should give us a policeman so that they will go with us. They said they would like to give us, but at the same time, what happened recently, they will advise us that we should not rely on police escort. So because an assistant commissioner of police has just been kidnapped, we are still looking for
an assistant, but
yes,
it's saddening and really saddening. But just as I was trying to lay, I'm trying to get this figures right, because if we look at it here, the number of police officers who have lost their lives in the course of trying to secure the nation, it's high. What should be the first set of moves you feel the acting Inspector General of Police should begin, and what reform does the Nigeria Police Force need at this point in time, sir?
Well, conventionally, when an Inspector General of Police is appointed, he holds meeting with his team, his colleague or subordinates, and then listen to them and then give them the direction. The direction today is internal security, just as it is yesterday. But he will need to hammer it into their head that we can no longer be doing it the same way. And that's why we are losing men into the hands of these wrong people or criminals. So that's number two. He need to look and assess the number of equipments that are available. Do they have enough guns? Do they have enough bullets? Do they have the this, what they call this thing, with drones? And if we don't have, are there places that require CCTV, either in the state capital, because he has to, give his own budget and those things that will help him to work. And then are there people within who are black sheep within the police? I will recall there used to be a man in Benin, a DPO, who was giving gun. That was in the 80s, supplying the armed robber. And then they pick some armed robber and they say it was, what do they call the man? He pick sound like that and begin to eat when they wanted to go and execute him. That's time. So they pick him. There was another Jennifer who was picked up for drug trafficking. How did you manage? He said it was a police commissioner, Yakilome. Yakilome was fired. So the new Secretary of Police will need to look around us of misfits, of those people who are within, who are opening, the doors to the challenge confronting the internal security. Then apart from it, then there must be training and retraining. And the issue of modern police, where you pick some, I remember when somebody, a particular organization in America, they alleged that Nigeria, you cannot come here without paying bribe. And the one Christian organization now alleged that they duped him of some million and they collected it. So I think it's a BC studio in America. And so they came, put a button. he bought a microphone from the airport here. Oga, what you bring and everything? How can we get your passport? You remember the story under Abacha? And by the time they pick some people committed suicide in Surulere. I remember a custom officer, when Abacha sent for him, blew himself up. So when we look at all those modern equipment that we assist our law enforcement agency, other micro, recording, so much, all of this one, we require it. You can't just be blame police. Police are not doing their bed. Are not doing, do you equip them? For example, if you rush to a police post or a police station in the night and say, please, there's armed robber there, the first thing they ask you, do you have a vehicle? So a police must have a standing vehicle. In Tampa, there have been money deducted from local government, which were given to some people and they don't use it. How far with that money? Can we still get it back? Who are those people responsible? So there must be an accountability for the money already expended on the police. And then at their budget, so that as to equip these things that are not, then they are going to be the other welfare. In Tampa, I don't know, maybe in Renta, you see police wearing your sandal at a police checking point. And it's not because they were not given the necessary things. Someone has to buy their uniform. I don't know the situation today. They buy it. So if you expect me to give my best, you must do it. Then there's the insurance policy. As soon as a police died, and then within 3 months, they asked the wife to move out of the barrack. There is no provision made available. The woman cannot fall on the insurance. How do you expect me to face bullets? So that is the reason. There is going to be a holistic something that it will go beyond the IGP himself. He has to sit down with the people within who can think along and say, how do we move this thing? What are those challenges confronting? How do we put it to Mr. President to know that we are ready to do this job? So most say, the police, you are giving inspection now. Do you give more equipment? Do you give them the money? Is there motivation? If you look at the modern equipment about workforce, you don't just pay salary. You must give some motivational emoluments that will make people, yes, you may say you don't have money, but we know the money. There used to be, how many times do you see army protesting? It's because something is better. So, but the police, the pay take home is poor. Go to police barrack. Look at some of the buildings, and I think Lagos just recently that they are demolishing in the Surulere because those who are just not in.
Go to Okefia. You don't need Lagos. Go and see the
inhabited. Yes, if you pass through that Okefia.
No, I saw terribly bad.
So what do you do? So government must just go down and see that the police, we have not treated them very well. And if you do that, then you will see that some of them are. I have a case less than a week. The PRO, when she was giving us, I was surprised that this is a woman who knows what she does. He said, I've been here, I've been to many countries, I've seen this one, that kind of thing. Apart, it's not the one, but what she was dishing out was very encouraging. So we have men and women, but then we do not give them the necessary equipment and the motivation. So the intellectual government must demand that from the federal government so that it will make its men to function properly.
Our borders are very porous. Nobody needs to tell us that. It's something, that's why smuggling is like a way in, a way out. You can just walk in and go out with smuggling. The acting Comptroller General of Customs right now. But we've always seen that, yes, Customs today, they call the news team, the media will come and pick up, record, interview. You see smuggled goods and this and seize and this and seize. What can Customs do? What should our borders look like? Because we've even heard at times that they aid and abet the entry and exit of smuggling in Nigeria. The new acting Comptroller General of Customs, Mr. ADEYI, his first task should be what?
Thank you very much. When you talk customs, there is no way we can talk about the appointment of this person there now in isolation of the person that is, that just exited the. You went to bring to custom duties retired colonel. And somebody, as at the time of his appointment, that retired maybe alongside Mr. President at that time, they were in, and
they were classmates.
They were classmates, and we never, like the last president who has retired for 33 years. He had no book written to his credit. He has no international activity. He has nothing.
No present any.
He was just there with his cows, and some people in their wisdom brought him that okay. It was completely analog, and they were bringing him on board to come and manage a Nigeria that has gone digital when everything. So the same thing with the custom man. I don't know what informed that wisdom to take retired army, not freshly retired, to say, okay, come and manage customs.
And who does not even listen to advice.
And that happened to that administration. We had our own Ogbeni Raoul from this place, who told us at the inception of his appointment that he knew next to nothing about Ministry of Internal Affairs. He said he didn't know any, he confessed. Then we had more jailbreaks and jail attack under him than any other appointee of that position. Then we come to Minister of Education, Adamu, who said he didn't know anything about education other than he himself
was not even available for a lot of time.
That was another confession. Now we are a custom, somebody in charge of custom who was purely a colonel, and a colonel that was familiar with FN rifle, that was familiar with all these, what do you call this, archaic rifles. Not to talk of custom duty now. Because the military now see the kind of rifle they are carrying too, they are improving on this. So that shows how bad it was to have brought somebody like that. He didn't have any special training apart from the time that he left the military. Nothing about custom, nothing about border, nothing about this. So he said he should come and manage. So that is where the problem comes in from. Why not take somebody from that same department to come and manage their affairs? You see, before they used to do it to the DSS, bring outsider to come and manage intelligence services. And at the end of the day now, the result, you see that even in this appointment, the president, I know it is not out of any this thing that is, it has not touched the DGSSS. The man has worked in such a way that it will be very difficult to find his replacement immediately. It will take them time to find his replacement. He has put in his best because he has been part of the system. He's familiar with the system, and he has stood himself out in all of these things that they were doing. And that was why somebody...
a good account of himself.
Account of himself. That was why somebody came to say, he said, but for the DSS that has not allowed this country to break down, that it is DSS that is holding the country together. Now, I can't remember the person that said it, one big voice like this, that it is only that department that remains that is holding this country together. Because of the way the man has worked. He's doing fantastic yeoman's job in that position. So that is how it should be with this person that is in charge of customs now. He should make a clear departure from whatever approach his immediate his predecessor in office has given it. He should look at it now. The first insult came to custom from the fact that the person that is at the helm of your affairs, he will be wearing agbada and expecting.
He even said he will never wear uniform.
He even insulted the National Assembly when they say when he's coming to the National Assembly, he should come in custom uniform. The guy didn't go there in custom uniform. So if we continue to talk about that one, what we went through in the hands of the immediate past president will not move forward. He has enormous challenges on his hand now, the guy. Which is, like Mr. OBADITAN said, first and foremost, you have to sit down, identify your problems. And then after which you understand them, then you now try to do surgical operations on them. Separate the shift from the shaft, wheat from the shaft, and look at your personnel that you are going to use to achieve whatever you are going to. That is what we call background checks of personnel on the job. You have employed them. As they are working, you continue to check. this one is he still a custom officer or is
a businessman?
A businessman. You do constant checks on them. Those people that you are going to work, it's applicable to the military, to the police, and everything. That is one thing they don't do. And in the DSS that I'm familiar with, I know they do it constantly. They check on you whether you are still one of them.
Even political appointment. When they appointed me, they will call me from Abuja. We want to see you in DSS office.
Yes.
Where you do work? Where's your family?
They check on everything constantly and repeatedly. They will be monitoring your life. That are you still one of us? Or you have just wearing this uniform, come to the office, whereas you are another thing entirely. You see, it happened with this military something recently when somebody made confession that most of the soldiers, they have left our military in loyalty, but they are still there. That anything, like he was talking about mercenary the other time. I remember they brought some mercenary to come and fight this. The first recommendation they made was that they were going to gas that forest. That is, smoke the forest so that everybody there, maybe they will sleep off for some time. Then we'll go and pick them. We'll go and recover our.
Before they do it, they will have informed they are going.
And the next day or 3 days after, they discovered that the Boko Haramis were wearing gas masks. So
there's an informant.
So somebody have leaked the information to them. So that is why it is important that we make constant check. Like they are coming now, this service chief, let them bring consultant to go and do background check of their personnel before they start working with them. Some of them, they are politicians now. They belong to the opposition party to this government, and they are the ones that you are going to use now to achieve whatever you want to achieve. It's like Yoruba will say, so those ones that have dipped their hand into politics, identify them, show them how to go home and go and play politics that they know how to play best. So this is very, very important. Otherwise, they will be sabotaging the efforts of that person. No matter how that person may try, it will just be getting frustration, and it is going to be he's going to be the one that will be fired. Of course,
we keep our fingers crossed. And gentlemen, I want to thank you for taking time out to be with me on the show this beautiful morning. It's been a pleasure speaking with Barrister Moses Obaditan, a public affairs analyst, a barrister at law. Thank you most sincerely, Barrister. Thank you. And also, I'd like to say thank Mr. AKIN ADEYI, a retired DSS personnel and still waxing strong. I don't know, looking like one of us, the young boys. I understand. Don't worry, I understand. Thank you for joining me, Mr. ADEYI. Don't worry. We'll see you to that. I'll be back again tomorrow morning on another edition of the program Morning Spring. On behalf of the entire transmission team, I want to thank my directors, my producers for the support on the show. Tunde IDOWU is my name. Good morning.
Height of political leadership and decision-making in the southwest of Nigeria, Bola Ige was assassinated on the 23rd December 2001. His murderers are yet to be apprehended till today. Western Spring Television identifies Bola Ige as a watershed character in history. The British Empire was the largest and the most powerful in the world. At its zenith, the empire embraced a quarter of the earth's land surface and imposed her imperial majesty's rule on more than 458 million peoples across nations and continents. The empire